Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle and I am the owner of LilyRoseCraftroom. And for today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to be making some drips, some glitter drips. So before we get started, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so you guys don't miss out on any new videos. All right, let's get started. Okay, so we're starting off with the 32-ounce slim tumbler from the Stainless Steel Depot. I also prepped the cup by sanding it and spray painting it a light pink. That way it matches the glitter that we're going to be putting on. To adhere the glitter, I'm using Amazing Sealer, and this is like a Mod Podge, but this is by Alumilite. And if you do decide to get this one, I have a discount link on the description below. Use code LILY10 for a discount. So with this Amazing Sealer, you just want to put a thin coat all around the cup, because if you make it too thick, once you put the glitter, it gets a little heavy. So when you put it down to dry, everything's going to start running down the cup. So just make sure it's a thin, even layer. Next, we're going to be sprinkling on the glitter. This one is called Sweetheart, and it's on my website at LilyRoseCraftroom.com. So we're just going to sprinkle this glitter all around the cup. And you have to kind of work fast when you're using the Amazing Sealer because it does dry fast. So you just want to make sure you get all the glitter on before it dries. Since this is a chunky glitter, next we're going to pat down the glitter so it lays flat. So just with my finger, I'm just tapping all the glitter from the rim, and I'm just gonna tap with my finger all around the cup until everything is flat. There's also different ways to lay down the glitter. Another way is rolling the cup on some parchment paper, but I didn't have any on hand, so I'm just laying them with my finger. And the reason why you want to flatten out the glitter as much as possible is because when it comes to the sanding part, it makes it easier if there's not so many sharp edges poking out of the cup. After sprinkling the glitter, I waited about 2 hours before I did the first coat of epoxy. Next, I'm going to be using my favorite epoxy. It's Amazing Quick Coat by Alumilite. And for this coat, since it's chunky glitter, I like to use a little bit more epoxy. So what I'm using is 15 mLs of part A and 15 mLs of part B to make it a total of 30. So you're just going to spread this with your gloved finger all around the cup. Next, to pop the micro air bubbles, we're going to be using this torch. It's a Burns-O-Matic, and I got this one at Home Depot. And I just brush over it quickly with the torch and just pops the bubbles quickly. And this is better than the heat gun, because what the heat gun does, it just warms the epoxy too much, so the epoxy starts just running. So this just pops it instantly. I did give this cup a second layer of epoxy, I just forgot to record it. But next is the sanding part, and I always sand after a second coat. Next, to sand the rough edges on the cup, I'm going to be using my hand palm sander, and this brand is called Win. I got this one on Amazon, so I will link it on the description below. And in my opinion, this is better than a sanding block or sanding paper because it just makes it easier. It vibrates, so you just rub it around the cup. So you just want to sand the cup, any lumps or any rough edges. You want to make sure that's all smooth, because the next part we're going to be adding the decals to the cup. Next, I'm going to be prepping my Waterslide paper, so I'm going to be using this matte clear spray paint from Rust-Oleum. So I'm just going to spray it in, and the reason I do this is because I have an inkjet printer. So I just want to seal in the ink, or else when I put it in water, the ink is going to run off. If you have a laser printer, you could totally skip this step. You don't need it. And I'm using this Waterslide paper, and this is from Hayes. I also got this on Amazon. So they come in regular size printer sheets, so you just stick it in your printer and print it out just like you do a regular paper. And this graphic I got from Sassys Tumbler Graphics. She is on Etsy and on Instagram, so I will link her information below so you guys can check her out. And I usually cut these out on my Cricut, but for some reason my Cricut was acting up and it didn't want to cut straight, so I'm just cutting it by hand instead. So next you're just gonna put the Waterslide paper inside the water for about a minute just to soften it up. This Waterslide paper that I am using is a white paper, so that's why I'm able to put this decal straight on the cup while it's sanded. If you're using a transparent Waterslide paper, you have to make sure to give your cup another coat of epoxy and make sure it's shiny. Because if you just put a transparent Waterslide on a sanded cup, you're going to be able to see all the sanding stuff, all the sanding markings through the Waterslide paper. So to check if this paper is ready, you just want to slide it in your hands, and if it comes off easy, that means it's ready. So next you're going to put a little bit water on the cup, and that makes the application easy to put on. And you're just going to slowly transfer that backing out. Next I have a silicone brush, and I'm just going to brush along the decal just to squeegee out any water that's inside. And then I'm also going to use a coffee filter to absorb any of the water to dry it up. So after I've let the decal dry for about 30 minutes, I'm going to give it a coat of epoxy to make the cup shiny before we put the drips on. So for this layer, I'm using the Alumilite Quick Coat Epoxy, and I'm using 20 mLs, so 10 of part A and 10 of part B to make 20. So next we're going to start on the drips. So for the epoxy part, I'm using the same epoxy that I always use, Amazing Quick Coat. So we're going to be putting 5 mLs of part A and then 5 mLs of part B to make a total of 10 mLs for the drips. So we're just going to combine the A and B and mix it together until the epoxy is clear. So I'm going to make these drips glittery, so we're going to be using glitter from my shop. It's called Icy, and this one is a beautiful white opal color. So I put a generous amount of glitter just because I want the drips to be super glittery. So you're just going to keep stirring it until all the glitter is just mixed in the epoxy. So this is how it looks. And the epoxy is going to be a little thick because we put a lot of glitter, but that is okay. So next we're going to be adding some white acrylic paint, and that's just so the drips can look like icing. Next, we're going to be using Nice and Thick, and this is the thickening agent that is from Counterculture DIY. They were nice enough to give me a coupon code so you guys can use. It's $10 off a purchase of $40 or more, and it's on their website at Counterculture DIY. I will link everything in the description below. The code is LilyRose, and it's for a limited time only. So if you're watching this after January 31st, 2022, it's probably no longer valid. But if you got the chance to use it, let me know in the comments below. So this is 1 scoop so far. So you're just going to keep mixing and adding until you find the right consistency. So you need it to feel like caramel. Now we're going on scoop number 2. And when you start mixing this, make sure you fold it in first before you mix, because this powder likes to fly all over the place. So just make sure you get it in before you start mixing. It was still really runny, so now we're going on scoop number 3. And you want to make sure to add 1 scoop at a time and just see how it is, because if you put too much, you're gonna have to start all over, because once it gets to the right consistency, it starts activating really fast, so you have to work quick with it. So 3 scoops of the nice and thick worked for me with the 10 mLs of epoxy, and it might look like it's dripping pretty fast, but remember, this video is sped up. So this is the consistency you want it to be. You want it to feel a little bit thick and sticky, just like caramel. So before you go all in, you always want to make sure to give it 1 drip test just to see how fast it goes down the cup. So it looked good from my end, not going too fast. So now we're gonna put it all over the cup. So I just spread this drip all over the cup just like this. And make sure you move quickly if you're tilting the cup just like how I am, because if you don't, the drips are gonna start to curve, and you don't want that to happen. You want nice and straight drips. So if you're doing it like me, you have to work fast. If not, then you just do it flat on the table and just do it from the top. And the places where you want more of a defined drip, just put a little bit more epoxy, that way it can flow down. So now you just gotta watch your cup for the next 15 to 20 minutes just to see how fast the drip is going, because you don't want it to drip all the way down to the table. So if you need a little bit more, add a little bit more, but now is a time where you need to keep an eye on your cup. So for the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to fast forward it really fast and just watch it drip. So I don't want to see the cup through the drip, so I'm just adding a little bit more on the top. That way you won't be able to see the cup through. So once you have the drips where you want them, go ahead and flip the cup upside down just to try to balance the drip so it won't drip anymore. And if you're gonna put it down on the table, make sure you have a silicone mat or parchment paper, that way your cup won't get stuck. So for about 5 minutes, let the cup stay like that and then flip it over right side up. So you're just gonna have to watch your cup for the next like 20 to 30 minutes, making sure your drips stay there. Alright, that's it for today's video, and like always, let me show you the finished look. Alright, so here is the finished look, and I didn't give it a final coat of epoxy because I didn't put any sprinkles or anything, so there's no reason I needed to seal it. This epoxy is not going to go anywhere. So here it is, very shimmery, very shiny, and I just love this decal. So everything I used, I will link it down in the description below. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I will do my best to reply to everybody. If you liked this video or found it helpful, give it a thumbs up, and I'll be back with the next one. Thanks, guys.